Welcome to another episode of Behind the Dreamers. I'm Jennifer Loading, and we are talking to the achievers, the creators, the magic makers, and the dreamers. These are our friends. These are your friends, and they are living the extraordinary. Well, I'm so excited about my guest today because he's coming in from across the world. This is going to be so great. He's an amazing person. He is a former senior mentor for world-class peak performance guru Tony Robbins. While they're part of that California-based team, he generated tens of millions of dollars in sales for Tony Robbins events worldwide. So you guys are going to be in for an incredible treat. I've been able to speak to him off camera, and he's just an awesome human being. But before I get him on here, we need to do a quick shout out to our sponsors. So today's episode is brought to you by Walt Mills Photography. If you are a creator needing post-production, consultation, or promotion, Walt is your guy. Whether short films, YouTube films, photography work, or a new headshot, Walt can help you find a solution to match your needs. To learn more about him and his work, you want to go to photosbywalt.com. All right, this is going to be exciting. All right, so my friend Mo Salami is an online, yes, let's go. He's an online marketing expert, international keynote speaker, and certified life coach. He speaks multiple languages, which I just think is amazing. He has done over 20,000 hours of one-on-one consulting, including consulting over 8,000 business owners doing $1 million in revenue. This was for business results or for their personal fulfillment. As an online marketing expert, he helps experts grow or scale their online businesses while creating their ideal lifestyle. So you are speaking my language, Mo. I love what you do. Welcome to the show. We're so excited to have you here.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. And thanks for this invitation to your amazing platform. And yeah, thank you. Great to be here. Glad to be here.
This is going to be so much fun, Mo. So I want to know, because you're doing so many great things, and I'm sure my audience is going to learn so much from you today. So tell us a little bit about what it is you are doing right now to make a difference.
The best way that I can tell you what I'm doing now is to tell you what brought me to this point. And what brought me to this point, Jennifer, was a sign. You know, as these things happen, it was literally a sign. And before I tell you about the sign, I'll back up a little bit and let you know that I'm from a family where the holy grail of success is education, and specifically getting a college degree, and even more specifically getting a science-based college degree or some sort of math-based or accounting-based college degree. So I did all that stuff, you know, got the, science degrees. In fact, I have 3 of them. I achieved the first one when I was 20 years old. And so I was a success. You know, I had the college degree, lived in a great neighborhood, great neighbors, great, salary, as it were. And what I found out very, very quickly was that the 6-figure salary came with, in this case, 16-hour shifts. But it was fine because I was a success and my neighbors were successful. And again, great neighborhood, all that great stuff. And I would always get to the end of the year, you know, when you do that countdown, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I would step into the new year and the previous year was just a blur of shifts, every weekday and weekend and holiday tended to be my work day. So I was so unsure because I'm supposed to be successful, and I was so unsure if I was actually that. So, which brings us nicely to the sign. So one day I'm in the bookstore and I see a sign, and the sign says, "How to be successful." And I thought, okay, how to be successful? What's that all about? I'm already successful, right? So I went to the sign, and it turns out the sign was an ad for a book by Jack Canfield called The Success Principles. And The Success Principles was my very first introduction to personal development. And at that point, I was from a world, my entire world was maths, physics, chemistry, biology. I think, maths or math, however you say it, right? So that was my world. And this was a different world about personal development. So I grabbed the book right there in the bookstore, and I sat there and I started reading. I just started reading the book. I sat right there, and I got to like halfway through the book, and then I got up and then bought the book, and then left. And essentially, the first chapter of the book was about taking responsibility. You know, all the results you have or you get, or everything that happens to you, is your responsibility, and it's up to you to take responsibility. So, ever the good student, read the entire book, and then I went to the back of the book and I ordered every single book in the back of the Success Principles, and I read every single one. And that's how I discovered Tony Robbins, and that's how I discovered T. Harv Eker, and ultimately that's how I discovered online marketing. So I went to an online marketing conference, and I asked myself the question, well, I wonder what it would look like if I were the best in the world at online marketing. And I wonder what it would look like if I were the best in the world at personal development. And again, to be clear, this isn't to be better than anyone else, but my point was to be the very, very best that I could be. So I went on a journey, probably over a decade, of paying for, attending and being invited to probably $500,000 worth of training on digital marketing, online marketing, public speaking, different aspects of personal development. And I very quickly came to a fork in the road. And that fork in the road was, do I continue on this path of online marketing? You know, at the time I had, you know, taught myself how to code, and I was building websites and getting results for clients in that space of online marketing, digital marketing, all things there. Or do I go work for Tony Robbins? And of course, Tony has an amazing mission and serving lots of people. And I had learned sales over a long period of time. I initially had learned sales from a gentleman called Chet Holmes, and also from Jay Abraham, you know, sales and marketing. And I took the whichever direction fork meant going to work for Team Tony Robbins, and I got the opportunity to do, you know, lots of high ticket sales and serve a lot of people to improve themselves. And again, as you mentioned in the intro, I did tens of millions of dollars of sales over there, and I guess more importantly, added a lot of value and helped a lot of people in the direction that they needed to be served, you know, by Tony. And you know, at some point, I had an epiphany, looking back at my previous, in inverted commas, success. And the epiphany was this: sometimes we think we're successful when what it really is stressful. And then I asked myself, well, with all I mean, at this point, I've probably read, probably 1,000 business, personal development, that sort of area, you know, books and that's not even before we get to all the trainings, right? And I thought, with all of this that I've learned and acquired, you know, I wonder if I could help more people go from successful to successful, using everything I've learned from online business over the last decade and some, and from working for Tony Robbins for 8 years. So that's what brought me here, and that's the story.
I love it. I was going to say something. I like your stressful. I like that. Never heard anybody say that before that way. So I like that term that you coined there. And, you know, and I think it's so interesting that you were talking about, you know, growing up and getting, you know, all these degrees, it being about, you know, math and science, because I think that is kind of like a lot of the way we hear things, like, right? It's this idea that we have to go get these degrees and then we go make these money. It's sort of like this path we have to take. And then I've talked about this many times in other episodes, like we go our whole lives, and I'm not saying me because I'm not doing that, but a lot of people do. They go their whole lives, they get this degree, they're making great money, and they think they're successful. And then they wake up one day and they realize they're not really all that successful because they're not happy, right? Like they're just living sort of this shell existence. And so I think it's awesome that you recognize that. And I know you're incredibly smart just by when you told me 3 degrees, I'm like, you are, that is crazy. But just to have that epiphany moment where you go, you know, I'm making good money, but this is not really what it's all about in life, right? Like this isn't everything.
Absolutely. I'm probably not that smart, but I do work very, very, very hard. Perhaps that's what got me there. Um, Jennifer, you're
Yeah.
absolutely right. I mean, I always like to say that you can curate the life that you want to create. A lot of times most people have that almost, is it a diagnosis of how to live your life? Go down this route, go down this route. And oftentimes the life that other people plan for you tends to be that life of limitations, that this is your level, this is your lane. We have all these phrases about them, right? Stay in your lane, this is your level, all that great stuff. And ultimately, you definitely have the option to curate the life and create the life that you want to create. It's literally up to you. And that's literally what I teach in terms of, design the life and the lifestyle that you want exactly how you want it. And that means different things for different people. And, the capacity of a human being is unlimited. So the key is, whatever's happened in the previous chapters of your life, moving forward, we get told, use the black pen or the blue pen to write your life, as in
Right.
metaphorically. As an adult, you use the black pen or you use the blue pen to design your life, meaning the job that you're supposed to have, or the area that you're supposed to live in, or even all these different like limitations. And when I believe that given the choice of which pen to use for the upcoming chapters of your life, you may not decide to use the black pen or the blue pen. You might decide to use the red pen or the green pen, or shock horror, write the story of your life with a Sharpie or a glitter pen. Or you might decide, I'm not even going to use a pen to design the next chapters of my life. And you use a pencil or even a paintbrush. Like literally the life and the lifestyle that you want to design is entirely up to you.
It's beautiful. I was going to say a yellow one. Not that it might not show up on the paper, but I like yellows. So
There you go.
before you even said all those
Just
colors.
see right there, Jennifer. That's it right there. Do you see that? Imagine
Yep.
a life that you live with your yellow pen versus having to use the blue pen, for example.
Right.
And tell me a little bit more about the pen that you choose. Like, what type of pen would it be? Marker pen, a regular pen for yourself? That yellow pen.
I was thinking actually a gel pen, like the gel, because I like the way they glide, because they're kind of a smooth
Right.
gliding pen.
Right.
But I think it was fun because I love that. And you're right. It's like we're told to pick, it's this way or this way. And I think, I was
Right.
having this conversation with somebody recently. Life is not black and white, right? Like there's gray. There's gray. And it can be whatever you want it to be. But we always think it has to be this way or this way. But there's a middle lane, right? And that's what I love about what you're doing, because we get to help people find what's that middle lane you want to create.
Absolutely, absolutely. And again, you just said it right there. Like a lot of times we're told it's this way or that way, the blue pen, the black pen, the left or the right. It's one of those ways and that's it. And, imagine that for yourself, that life with a yellow pen, and the type of pen that you wanted as well. It's just more, it's just more interesting writing with the gel pen if that's the one that you picked. For sure.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I love it. Well, and the other thing that I really like about what you've done is that you've spent the time, because I think in this space, in this coaching space, there are a lot of coaches out there. And I don't ever like to talk bad about anybody, because I think we're all on our own journey, right? But I think that building that credibility in this space is so important. And I love that you've spent the time doing the work. And that's what I always say, because I shared with you, we got to talk off camera and or off this, this recording, and my journey, when I went in to start doing this life coaching, I had like 20 something years in business. And so I was coaching people all throughout that with no background, but you learn a lot when you work with women for 20 something years. You start doing a lot of therapy because that's what you have to do. But when I went in to start learning some of the coaching stuff that I was learning, I had incredible mentors all those times. So I was getting incredible training, just it was there at ease for us. But when I really started to go in and try to learn why I was having so much struggle in my business, and then really started making the connections, how the life and the business are really intertwined, because how you show up in one area is really how you show up in all the areas of your lives, and how these things manifest very differently. That's when I started getting into, okay, now we need to start understanding this life side of things. Like, what's going on here? What are these limitations, these paradigms that are blocking us, and they're manifesting? And mine was always really struggling around money. Like, how was that showing up very differently in my personal life versus my business life? And so I think what I'm getting at when I say this is that putting in the work is important, right? Like putting in and understanding what you're passionate about in your craft. And so that's what I admire about you, is that you not only said, hey, I have this sign, you got this one Jack Canfield book, and then you go and you order all these books, and then you go through all this Tony Robbins stuff. And so I want to applaud you for that, because I do think that sets you apart from a lot of the people out there that are doing a lot of what we do.
I think, Jennifer, I like so much what you said there about all the women you'd helped and coached, and all the people you'd helped and coached over the years, and then all the different things that you've realized, from coaching, and all the differences you were able to make, because that's huge. That is, so humongous, and that speaks to the fact that that's who you are anyway in your core. You're driven towards helping others to really succeed. And I think it probably would have been easier not seeing that sign, right? Because in terms of I literally read every single book on the back, and then I literally traveled, you name a country or a continent, I've probably been there, seeking out who's the best, like who's the best at, public speaking training, who's the best at this area of digital marketing, etc. And what it boils down to is that if I can be the best me, it helps you be the best you. You being like a plural term for whoever I'm, training or mentoring, because the outcome is that just to help people take that step. For one person, it could be just a solitary step. For the next person, it could be, walking. For someone else, it could be, running or leaping. So, and again, if I can do my best, to, learn from and cultivate knowledge from the best places possible, and then also encourage with things like implementation. You mentioned like money before, so things like mindset as well. Then hopefully, fingers crossed, I can then help you, be the best you. So that was a plan. So again, when I mentioned before, what would this look like if I were the best in the world at online marketing, or the best in the world with personal development? The bigger ask was, how can I get to a place where I'm super good at this for the betterment of whoever is in front of me moving forward? So I definitely agree with that, Jennifer, for sure.
Yeah, that's good. It's good. You're looking at the larger picture, and that's important, right? Especially, again, I think it's important in this space, in this personal development space. There's a lot of coaches around that I feel like sometimes just sort of wake up and decide to be a coach, and then they just go grab a quick certification, and not that I'm not demeaning those, because I think that they're important. We need those, but I really think I'm such a big advocate for personal testimony. I think when we can speak through what we've gone through or our own realization, and then bring that to somebody, because people don't always care like where you are now. They want to know how you got there. Like what led you to this, to bring you to where you are today? Because when they look at you, Mo, or even if they look at me, and you're incredible, they look at us and go, you've been like this forever. No, that's not the way it is, right? We have to work to get to these places. And you had the successful career. You were doing the right things, and you woke up one day and said, no, this is not it. And so people looking on the outside go, well, they got it all, like they got it, right? Like it's there. But then we realize, we go, no, that's not what it's all about, which leads me to our whole conversation about the 2%. I haven't forgotten that conversation. It's in my head every day, those 2%, right? Because that's what we're trying to teach people to live, is to be that 2% that we talked about, which you need to talk about that so they know what we're talking about.
Right. So first of all, Jennifer, I do think you're pretty incredible. I've listened to a few of your episodes. I've seen like what you're doing, and it's such a great thing. Even if you have, I think even if you have someone that says, one day, oh, by the way, I'm going to become a coach tomorrow. I think that's a great thing because, you know, the first, I guess, step is being like someone who learns from you. That I think they don't necessarily want you to be the best in the world as such, but what they do want is that you genuinely care for their progress and that you're just in front of where they're at now. And then I think it's definitely a great thing as that coach, as it were, to continue developing, to continue improving, continuing going to that next level. Because again, you know, we can serve people best. I'll repeat what I said before. Like, if I can be the best me, I'm in a better position to help you in a plural sense, become the best you. And so the 2%. So this is a two-part story here. So there was a study a few years ago, and you know, not long after I discovered Jack Canfield, I discovered Earl Nightingale, and he did a study of 25-year-olds. And just for argument's sake, I'll use the number 100. So let's say 125-year-olds. And they were studied for 40 years until they were 65. And at age 25, you know, they were full of, you know, desire and ambition. And I want to achieve this and live here and make this much money and all the things that we believe in general equal success in life. Now, by the time they were 65, what was found from the study was that 4% of them had achieved the goals they'd set at age 25. So from 25 to 65, over that 40-year span, you know, 4% had gotten to where they had wanted at age 25. And then furthermore, 80-year-olds, you know, different study, 80-year-olds in general, you know, 98% of people, or to flip it, you know, 2% of people have lived the life that they wanted to. You know, and a lot of times it's, what's the reason, you know, that happens? There are lots of different reasons. And a lot of times it's just that not being willing to step into uncomfort, you know, and just wanting to stay in what's been prescribed for us, you know, wanting to use that, the blue pen instead of the yellow pen, right? And it's like, the uncomfort part is uncomfortable just for a little while. So, you know, it's just that, like, really finding the resources, you know, coaches and mentors and trainings and books, perhaps, you know, and the knowledge part is great, of course, but then the implementation part is even better as well. So those things sort of added together, you know, obviously in a bit of a better structure, get people to leave that 98% who are unfulfilled ultimately, and then to join that, you know, 2% who are leading the life they want, or, you know, that 4% by age 65. So it's really, really interesting because, you know, most people, they tolerate living a life they loathe, but they won't put themselves out there to create a life that they love. So that's what it boils down to a lot of times, I think.
You gave me chills, Mo. Mike, you were talking about that. Thank you for sharing that, because when we talked, I have not forgotten that conversation. Every day I'm like, 2%. That's what we're working on, the 2%. You don't want to be in the 98 because you don't want to be living that life of mediocrity. You've got to step out, take the yellow pen, right? I love it.
It's funny because it's a future-paced challenge, right? Because in real time, imagine that. So in real time, you think you're successful, or one thinks they're successful, and then there are these. Then we literally have all these things we want, and we open the drawer and we put them in the drawer and we shut the drawer and we call it a bucket list, right? And we go, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that and I'm gonna do this, and I'll do it next year, or the year after, and then 10 years go by, 20 years go by, and it continues. And then some people go to the drawer that's below the first drawer, and they've said to themselves, this list is not even going to happen. So they call it an F it list. There's a whole nother list, right? Where they go, ha, ha, ha. And it's an interesting one because at some point the epiphany arrives that, oh, you mean I could have done all those things, you know? And so it's just about in real time saying, okay, here's how I want the life. Here's the life that I want for myself and the people that I love and the people who love me as well. Here's the life and the lifestyle that I want for me and them. And then let's create that exactly how I want. And, you know, people have done that, and there are tools out there to help us get it done. So let's step into that. But a lot of it stems from being willing to be uncomfortable, you know, and I would say that for sure.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, you know, one of the things I've had to do, because you're right, I think we put it out and we go, when this happens, when this happens, when this happens, then that's going to happen. And, you know, I think I always go back to, you know, what I learned when I went through the Life Mastery Institute. We talked about it. We talk about, you know, our 4 domains, the areas of our lives that we're trying to find happiness in. And, you know, I've sort of adopted this idea that, you know, my job every day for myself, and this is what I try to exhibit to the people that are listening to what I talk about and what I do, is that, you know, what is one thing I can do every day in my life, that one thing that I can do to create what I'm trying to create, that life that I'm trying to create. And the other thing is to find gratitude in my day. Find what it is in my day that is bringing me that joy, because ultimately it is that. It's not the end results, right? It's not the end. It's the finding the joy in what we're doing every day that I think ultimately fulfills us in the end, right? And when you were talking about this bucket list, I'm immediately in my mind going, the shoulda, coulda, woulda, done right? You know what I mean? Like, that's what's going through my mind. And who wants to be that way at the end? We don't want to be the shoulda, coulda, woulda, right? We want to be, we did it. We did it. That's what we want.
Exactly. I mean, the great thing about results is that it means that you had a go. So you know, you literally said it just there, Jennifer. Like, we have all these things. We have the coulda, shoulda, woulda, the bucket list, the other list, all that great stuff. And then the great news is we have tomorrow to get it done, right? You know, let's get it done tomorrow. I'll do that next year, next time, next season, next quarter. And, you know, it's the getting a result says you had to go. So you don't like look back in the future. Like, in the future, you don't look back and go, oh, I wonder what would have happened if you went for it. You know, that, oh, you either achieved it, surpassed it, or almost got to it. Or even more beautiful is that you got halfway there and you realized that, oh, there's this other direction that I need to be taking. And then the first directions that I did helped me do that other direction, helped me, you know, pivot or go in that other direction. So then all of a sudden you lose that attachment to the result, you know, for sure, do the best you can consistently, but you lose that attachment to the result. But then you went for it, you took the actions, you know, and, you know, for sure. So it's certainly about that, I would say, you know, just like really, really going for it.
Yeah. This is good. This is good. Mo, I wanted to ask you a question. So because obviously a lot of people, I mean, we get other people that are listening to this. We get a lot of entrepreneurs and professionals that are listening to this, and they're like, you know, they're in that space where they're trying to achieve, and we want them to push them into that work towards that 2%. Let's get them, you know, achieving and living the life that they want to live, right? Like, that's what I would say. That's why my business, it's life by design. We're trying to create the life that we love, right? And encompass all the things that we want. So you said so many good things here, but maybe what's one thing they could do, like right now, maybe a step or something they could take, advice or something you'd lend them to push them maybe into that space? I know it's all encompassing, but we need something.
What's one thing to push them into the space of the life that they want to lead?
Yeah. What's something they could do?
To decide it and design it. So first make the decision that, you know, this is the life that, do you like the way I incorporated your podcast name in that, by the way? You know, first of all, decide, like, make that decision that, you know, there's a life I want to lead. If it's not the one that the pathway you're on at the minute, and decide that, okay, I'm going to go for it. And then the second part is to design it and get some real clarity around, you know, all the different areas that, you know, almost do like a cloud, like a wish, like I guess almost like a word cloud of, you know, this is what I want. This is where I see this area of my life. This is what I want, in terms of my loved ones, I should say, and perhaps, how I want the family life to be. This is where I want to live. If I want a second home, this is where it will be. If I don't want a second home, that's great too. If I want to move, we'll do this. The number of hours, that's a huge one. How many hours I'd like to work ideally, what value I'd like to bring into this world, which then, leads to, the amount you're able to earn, perhaps, or revenues and so forth. So design it with specificity, and it doesn't usually, if we ask ourselves, what is the answer to a question? A lot of times we say we don't know, but then the next question becomes, I know that you don't know, but if you knew, what would be the answer to the question? Because typically we know the answer, but it's usually limiting beliefs, or I can't, or that sounds great, but there's this whole list of reasons why I can't do it. So, grab that yellow pen, for example, and, the pen that you choose, and then just describe and design exactly what you want. And then the next step is just to take a step, just take one step in the direction of it. It doesn't have to be everything, but literally, like, what is one action you can take, towards that? And then I would say that one of my mentors, Tony Robbins, my favorite quote from him is, never leave the sight of making a decision without taking action. So this speaks to that, like, to, making that decision for exactly what you want, minus any limitations. If it's car you want, or a vacation that you want, or free time you want, or if you have a hobby or a passion, that you really want, like, really get specific, and then take one step in the direction of getting that done. I would say that's the first step.
It's good. It's good. All right, I want to ask you one more question, Mo, and this is kind of a fun question. I don't ask this all the time, but sometimes I like to ask this question because I just think you're a neat, amazing person, and I love what you're doing, and I kind of like just your journey, your switch, because I think coming from, a background of having, math and science be kind of the core, because I studied accounting. So I can kind of relate to this. I never like to say I understand, how somebody feels, but I can say I can resonate with what you're saying. And then moving into this into this entrepreneurial space, and also this personal development space, which is so much about our thoughts and the way we perceive things. I would like to know, if you had to sum your journey up in like a couple words, what would be your takeaway on this?
To sum my journey, I would say, well, you said a couple of words. So literally, I would say in progress. There's still, more to do. What I would say as well to people listening to this is this, like, to you, you're ordinary. And then to us, you're extraordinary. A lot of times it's a normal, I guess, human trait to have that, imposter syndrome feeling, or I'm not enough, and all that great stuff. And if you're doing well in one area of your life already, you have these amazing competencies and skill sets already, and this could be if you're in a corporate role, if you have your own regular business or your online business, or even, or if you're someone who's a stay-at-home parent, for example. To do those things requires some really great skill sets and amazing competencies already, right? But oftentimes we forget all those great things we've done, and we go, oh, I'm just filling the blank. I'm just a. So again, I repeat, to you, you're ordinary. To us, you're extraordinary. And if there's that next step, you've discarded the black or the blue pen, and you've pulled out the yellow pen in this instance, and you've decided, here's the life and the lifestyle that I'd like to design. You aren't starting from the beginning, because it's just a case of taking your amazing competencies and skill sets from your current success wall, your ladders against your current wall of success. And then if you're moving it to the other wall, it's just, you'll be using those same competencies, but just using it towards a different objective, and then we add, some mindset pieces, some strategy pieces, and voila. So, so a lot of times we forget all the amazing things we've done, and we just think, we're starting from the beginning, but oftentimes we're not. You know, if you're an amazing parent, if you're an amazing you know, at work, for example, if you're amazing in another area of your life, there are some amazing competencies there. Some of them are even unique to you as well, that you shift to this other new thing. And then all of a sudden you become amazing over there because of the new strategies and the mindset pieces, but then you bring your own uniqueness to that other area as well. So I just wanted to mention that as well, you know.
Yeah. It's awesome, Mo. Thank you so much. You're incredible. So what I do want to ask you is if our audience wants to get in touch with you, they want to learn more about you, your work, what you're doing, follow you, where would you like us to send them?
So what I would say is this, you know, what I teach is that you can create the life and the lifestyle that you want to create. You literally can. And the way we teach that, there are lots of ways to get there, of course. And the way that I teach that is two ways: via the impact that you can have and fulfillment. So the way we teach impact is via having your online business. So perhaps you love what you're doing currently, and then having a side hustle online business that brings in 6 figures is the way that you want to go. Or perhaps you want to go all in with you know, you have your own mission to serve, your own tribe. You want to go all in with your own online business and head for that, you know, mid-6. I never really like to mention like numbers like that, but maybe you want to go feel like your mid-6 figures, or you have your own like target and you want to go all in with that. So we teach that with the outcome of you having the impact you want. You know, a lot of the limitations for people tends to be, you know, financial. So the fact that you're putting a lot of value out there into the world for your tribe hopefully gives you some more financial options. So we teach that, you know, online business. The other way is that at the end of the success, remember, we're being successful versus, you know, successful. At the end of the success, what people tend to find is that at the end of the impact, what people sometimes find is that they're not fulfilled. So I also offer, you know, personal development coaching and high performance coaching as well. So to that end, if you go to mosalami.com/free call, I do offer a free strategy call. On the strategy call, you'll get a ton of, you know, really great value for sure. And then by the end of the call, we can determine the next direction for you, and or if we're a great fit to work together. So mosalami.com/free call. And if you're wanting to, you know more about me in general, just go to mosalami.com/blog. So those are the ways. mosalami.com/free call.
We got it, Mo. Very good. Well, you've been incredible. Thank you so much for sharing with our audience. I love what you're doing. Keep inspiring. Keep doing your thing. You're doing great stuff. And so I just want to say thank you for your contribution in making the world a better place.
You're welcome. Thank you for this invitation. And it's an honor to be a guest on your podcast.
Thank you. And of course, we do want to say to our audience, if you enjoy the show, check us out over on Apple, give us a rating over there, hit that subscribe button on YouTube so we can keep sharing all these incredible stories. And as I always say, in order to live the extraordinary, you must start, and every start begins with a decision. You guys take care, be safe, be kind to one another. We will see you next time.